Yo, welcome to another episode of the Roundball Ramble podcast. I'm your host, Corban Ford. Follow me on Twitter at Corban NBA. This is a Sports Ethos presentation, so check out Sports Ethos on Twitter at Sports Ethos, online, sportsethos.com. Listen, y'all, we're recording this on a nice Saturday morning. I almost had my cereal out, no Saturday cartoons, but I had all the fun I needed last night as the Lakers went and just walloped the Grizzlies in a Game 6 performance of the ages. Dillon Brooks won at 40, and he got a 40-point L. So happy about that. We're going to talk about that. In fact, real quick, if you didn't read the title, this is going to be the second round playoff preview. And my esteemed guest, as always, is one Ron Gutterman. You can find him on Twitter at Ron Gutterman24. RONGUTTERMAN. The guy does work for the Lakers. You watch Lakers Nation, you're a Lakers fan, you've seen him before. If you're into the Dodgers, he does stuff for the Dodgers as well. And we're both sports business classroom alums. A good friend. Ron, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great after a Game 6 blowout by the Lakers. I was nervous. I was nervous that the Grizzlies were going to be able to force a Game 7 and potentially take the series. And the Lakers made sure my nerves went away very, very quickly. So I'm thankful to them for that. And now I can peacefully enjoy some second round basketball before they start their second round series in a few days.
Exactly. I'm very much excited for that. I really didn't want a Game 7. It would have been nice for basketball on Sunday, for sure. Sunday, but it also would have been horrible from an angst perspective, being a fan of basketball at large, but also a Lakers fan having a soft spot for, obviously. And then also knowing Game 7s, anything could happen. And it's like I'd already said, Lakers in 6 when we did our last prediction show, and I really wanted to back that up and look like a basketball savant here a little bit, at least in my own mind. So I'm glad that they took care of business. And before we even look and preview those future rounds, let's talk about the Lakers, kind of recap this first round slightly. We're not going to do a heavy recap on every show. Just, watch the games. But also, actually, let's not even do a recap. I think we saw kind of what we saw within the Lakers matchup against the Grizzlies. AD really stepping it up late. The bench for the Lakers being consistent pretty much every game in the series with the exception of a couple of, losses. And then, of course, the Grizzlies just being injured. But what were your observations on just this Lakers rather decisive 4-2 victory?
Yeah, for the first time this season, obviously since the trade deadline too, is the first time I really thought, okay, maybe they can be in that championship contender conversation. I think Darvin Ham showed me that he is capable of taking advantage of mismatches. I was worried going in that he wasn't going to push the right buttons in terms of you have a size advantage down low. You have you have the ability to guard their 3 guard lineups with John Morant, Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard, or Dillon Brooks or whoever. But you got to be able to push the right buttons at the right times. And for the most part this series, he was able to do that. I thought he outcoached Taylor Jenkins, which I didn't think was going to happen when the series started. So I'm definitely high on the Lakers looking forward. Obviously, their second round opponent is yet to be determined as we record this. But I think either way, whether it's Warriors or Kings, I think I would predict a Lakers victory, but I need to see the vibes once one of those teams wins their Game 7.
Exactly. I agree with you there. And in lieu of a preview for that series, since we don't really have a team to preview, I'm going to ask you this. What team would you prefer the Lakers to match up with? Because for me, I don't know. If the Kings come, I think it's going to be a lot more offensive focused. The Kings have obviously played some decent defense. Mike Brown has junked it up, knows how to get Steph Curry out of his position. Good luck with LeBron James on that, to a certain extent, even though just from a physical perspective. Also, the Lakers shooters have been a lot better. We saw Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell have key moments and key sparks, in this series, and obviously Game 6. And I think it's going to be a fun back and forth from the offensive. And I think AD can definitely give himself a presence down there against Domantas Sabonis, but that'll also be a fun matchup. Who's guarding De'Aaron Fox? Is it going to be Jared Vanderbilt? Like all of the different cross matches, the 3-point shooting for Sacramento, the old rivalry between the Lakers and the Kings from 20 years ago brought back up. Like the basketball historian in me, the fun basketball guy in me, like that would be great. And I have some great Kings fans, I'm sure you do too, that would be awesome to talk to and really have some discourse around. So I'm pumped for that. For the Warriors, it's the Warriors. LeBron and Steph Curry, number 5 at this point.
Yeah.
4 finals, and then this right here. I don't know if you count the playing game, but boom. Exactly, like a
Let's say
series.
it's LeBron v. Steph 6, just for fun.
There you go. Why not?
Okay.
Exactly. And you have all the characters who've made this NBA drama for the last half decade so good. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, LeBron James, to a much lesser extent. Well, actually, just that. I'd say AD is not really a part of this. But, like, you have this core group of guys. Steve Kerr, if you want to throw him in there. And I also think that it'd be a fun matchup because the Warriors and Lakers had some really entertaining games this last couple of years. LeBron dropping 56 on them last year. You know, some tight games where the Lakers beat the Warriors down the stretch this year in their playoff push that they made. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I guess from like a winning perspective, it depends on Game 7, but I feel like I would trust the Lakers more with the Kings. Only because I feel if it gets to an offensive focused game more so, the Lakers have more defensive bite, in my opinion, especially post trade deadline. And I also think the matchup of AD and LeBron, again, is going to run it. They have less equipped defenders, in my mind, for both of those players than we had in this Grizzlies series, even while those players were injured or while the Grizzlies were battling injury. That's my initial take.
Yeah, I think the Lakers. My gut instinct is also the Kings. I think
Mhm.
the Domantas Sabonis matchup, like AD is such a good defender that Domantas Sabonis is not going to be able to get to his spots uh, as easily as he normally does. And then on the defensive end, I think right now where the Warriors Kings matchup is so interesting, we talked about it before, was it's strength on strength and weakness on weakness. It's Domantas Sabonis offense on Draymond Green defense, and then the reverse, which is the weakness. But it with the Lakers, I think there's a significant advantage because it's strength on one end with Domantas Sabonis on offense and Anthony Davis on defense. But then Anthony Davis on offense against Domantas Sabonis on defense is a bit of a mess for the Kings. And I don't believe, the reaction for most teams is, well, let's just double Anthony Davis. And my question to the Kings is, who are you doubling Anthony Davis with that isn't ruining you on the offensive end of the floor, right? Because you could bring in you could bring in one of your other bigs, which is like Alex Len, or that Alex Len has kind of been their go to true center in the Warriors series. But if you have Len and Sabonis out there, I think AD and LeBron can swallow that hole defensively and offensively because they don't have the foot speed to keep up with that duo. So I like the matchup down low in the front court in a Lakers Kings series. Where I worry in the Lakers Kings series is the speed of their backcourt: De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, uh, Davion Mitchell. I feel like that's too much for the Lakers guards to handle. That speed is ridiculous. D'Angelo Russell is a fine defender, but he's not a quick-footed defender. Austin Reeves is a good defender, but again, I don't want him chasing around a guy like De'Aaron Fox or a guy like Malik Monk for 30 minutes. So it really puts a lot of pressure on Dennis Schroeder and Jared Vanderbilt. But the same is true in a Warriors series. And in a Warriors series, you also have to deal with Draymond Green, who's one of the best defenders of this generation.
Yep.
So while the argument I would make in favor of the Lakers Warriors matchup is that the Warriors, outside of Steph Curry, don't have the same foot speed that the Kings do. Um,
Mm.
like I don't think the Warriors would be able to run the Lakers off the floor and tire them out. While I think the Kings could do that, the X's and O's of it all really leans me towards the Kings. So I would say I'm rooting for the Kings, and they're at home, which the road Warriors. They won their game 5 on the road, but before that, is ugly all year.
Exactly. No, I want the Kings too. I think just I mean, I like the Warriors as like a fun nostalgia, kind of the narrative and some of the storylines. The Kings have just as entertaining storylines as well. But you broke down from a technical perspective, from Exonos perspective, personnel. The differences there. Also, just on a slight like, let the Kings have some more fun. Let's make it a second round run. Like, let's do that. Now, once they get there, I'm let's go Lakers. But like at the same time, like this is great for the NBA, great for Kings fans. Why not? And they've been a fun team, and I don't want to see it go. Malik Monk against his old team. Can I get some Malik Monk and we dust off Lonnie Walker? No, I'm just kidding. Um,
I will say I was listening to like a neutral podcast that was discussing the NBA,
mhm.
and they were saying it would be awesome if the Kings won. The celebration if the Kings won this series would be insane. And then like 5 minutes into the second round, everyone would say, I kind of wish the Warriors were here. Like
Yeah,
this would be more fun if the Warriors were here. But the celebration between Game 7 and Game 1 would be unreal if the Kings won.
it really would. And also, it really would. Light the beam, light all the beams, everyone on Twitter, the podcast, like discourse, which actually wouldn't last blessedly that long because it'd be like a legit 2 days,
Yeah,
day and a
because
half
the
from
game, I believe Game 1 is
it's
on
Tuesday.
Tuesday. And
Exactly.
yeah, so there's not a lot of time.
Not a lot of time to do a lot, which is great for me because if you're a Lakers fan, you get today as we're recording to rest. You get tomorrow to sit. They said, Dennis Schroeder said they're probably going to get together, watch the game, right? Monday, travel, and you stay in LA or stay in California regardless,
Yeah.
which is amazing. That's ideal for a team that's a little more veterans, at the top. And then also you get those 4 days of rest for Anthony Davis to work on that hip, for LeBron James to be off his feet and work on that foot. For other guys who are nursing injuries, it is playoff time to be able to take some of that time and kind of get back a little bit. Yeah, I'm hyped for it regardless. It's going to be a fun series. I'm very excited the Lakers made the second round, showing what we all thought, which is one healthy. LeBron AD are a problem. And also, like, as much flack as getting Rob Pelinka, and rightfully so, in my opinion, like, what he did the trade deadline was masterful. And I said it, I'm sure you said, I think we did a pod around that time. Like, I feel like we did. Either that, we talked about it. But, like, what was done post trade deadline was a masterclass in terms of acquiring just the right fits in a short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, Jared Vanderbilt has been a complete
Amazing.
game changer. We saw with D'Angelo Russell in that Game 6. We saw what he could do. Like when he gets going, he is the guard, like the ball handling guard that the Lakers have been desperately seeking next to LeBron James. And
Mm-hmm.
they thought Dennis Schroeder could be it, but turns out he's really more of like a slashing defender type than a
Mm-hmm.
real true ball handling guard. We saw what happened with Russell Westbrook. That didn't go well.
Mm-hmm.
Like D'Angelo Russell, when he's going, when he's on his game, he is exactly what the Lakers have been searching for there. Obviously, Jared Vanderbilt, we know the impact. And Malik Beasley, I hope at some point he gets it going. Right now, he's kind of, in Game 6, he was cut from the rotation, which is kind of what everyone was believing would eventually happen. I do hope at some point he can get it going because if he's hitting his threes, he absolutely, has earned minutes because he can shoot the lights out of the ball.
Exactly. No, absolutely. It's been great just seeing them playing. Like you said, D'Angelo Russell has that star factor in a player that's a role player. It's like the perfect balance of a guy who, like, he's a starter for sure, but he can every 4 games or whatever, 5, I don't know, he'll put together a superstar performance without having the cachet of like, okay, we can't take him off the floor if he's playing bad. Like Darvin Ham has that over, that sort of balance there. And he seems
Yeah.
comfortable in his second stint in LA. Like that's been great to see. The swag that he brings to the court, the same, only matched by Russ at his best moments, but we didn't see a lot of those, unfortunately. Like it's great. So yeah, I'm excited for it. We're looking forward to it. But we already spent almost 10 minutes or so on Lakers, which, I mean, it's great. We still got other series to
We
talk
knew
about.
this was going to happen.
We knew it was going to happen. Exactly. So let's go into the second round. We've known there has been some very interesting first round matchups. We saw two teams that we definitely didn't see going down on the East for sure going down. And that was obviously the Milwaukee Bucks and the Cleveland Cavaliers, as the Heat and the Knicks beat those two teams respectively and will now face each other in the second round. So I'm going to throw it to you. That tips off this weekend. Is that today? As
I
we're
think
recording?
it's
Tomorrow,
Sunday's
Sunday.
Game
There we
1,
go.
I
There we
think.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific.
Lovely. Lovely. I love it. For wake up to hoops. Gotta love it. So
Always.
we're gonna have that. So let's talk about that because we have um the New York Knicks who obviously just brought their hard hat and just punked the Cavs basically in terms of the rebounding edge, playing more physically, and really just setting the tone. And coming away with a 4-1 victory, which I did not have in my prediction. I had Cavs in 6, and I think I might have did Cavs in 5. I got to look back on my prediction. But looking back here now, or looking forward rather, yeah, the Knicks played great. Jalen Brunson was amazing. Julius Randle put in a game effort. Unfortunately, he's uncertain, to be ready for the series opener because of that sprained ankle like injury that was not reoccurred but like re-aggravated or did it again or sprained it again in their closeout game. So what do you have in terms of observations on these two squads? And well, let's get your predictions. Let's just cut to the chase on it.
I mean, Jimmy versus Tibbs obviously is the main storyline. But
Yes.
man, these are two teams that they just work. They they work so hard and they make you fight for everything. I think we're going to see some low scores. I think we're going to see some ugly basketball throughout the course of this 7-game series. Like I look at Cavs Knicks. I look back at that series and I think the Cavs are the better basketball team by almost every measure. But they got outworked. They just got out hustled. They got outplayed. Like they did not show up the way that I thought they would. I thought I had Cavs in 7, so I thought it would be close. But the Knicks, it just was never close. So yeah, I mean they are going to make teams work, and the Heat. I mean, what can you say other than playoff Jimmy is here? Because honestly, I look at that Bucks series and the team didn't play well. Like they didn't play well. Now, obviously, the Bucks played worse and played horribly, like not up to their standard, even close. To answer the question that was posed to Giannis, yes, their season was a failure.
Yeah.
Um, if
Like
you're
the answer, but
if,
yeah.
if you're the odds-on favorite to win the championship and you lose to an 8 seed in the first round, you failed. Like that season was a failure. Like,
Mission was not accomplished.
and that's okay to say out loud. But
Yeah,
I think it's okay to say out loud.
I
But
agree.
the Heat are really not that good of a team overall. They didn't really play that well in that series, but Jimmy Butler just could lift this group in a way that is just it was unreal to see. I want to be like it's playoff Jimmy time, Heat and 4, but like I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Knicks don't have a Jimmy Butler, obviously, but they have a whole culture of making the other team work super hard for every bucket. And I think the Heat already have to work so hard to score in the half court that if Jimmy is not, again, like a 40 point per game average kind of guy for this series, which he might very well be, but until that happens, I don't see the Heat winning this series. I have Knicks in. I'm struggling. I think I'm going to say Knicks in 5. I think I'm going to say Knicks in 5. I think the Heat run is nice. I think the Heat run is awesome that they did this and they beat the Bucks and they stunned everyone. But I think the Knicks do better what the Heat try to do every game. And so it's no longer like it's not a clash of styles. It's the same style. And I think the Knicks do it a little bit better.
I would agree. I think that you described it perfectly. It's both are going to be a rock fight. I just think the Knicks have a bigger one to bring to the table here. It looks like it's going to be fun to have like a return of a 90s type of series, like you said, especially since the Knicks and Heat were one of the signature games for that. I actually tried to watch one a couple days ago. It was a perfect bedtime movie because there just wasn't a whole lot going down there. But, it's a lot of, you know, I think the series is going to be very much the same nail biting finishes and tough offensive performances, really grinding every possession out, you know, just points just being pulled and twisted and convert. Like it's going to be rough. But I don't think the Knicks are going to. I don't think they're going to lose the series. That's a better way to say it. I mean, they have the 19th best defense this season. They're a top 5 bench squad. Miami's offense, although it turned all the way up against Milwaukee, was ranked 25th. Their bench was already bad going into the series, and they've only gotten worse with an injury to Victor Oladipo. And now you have a very thin backcourt, especially. It's Gabe Vincent and Kyle Lowry and whatever you can get from him, consistently. And then your shooting guard spot, just as thin, although like Caleb Martin and others really played well, so it's going to be interesting. The Cavs had a really good offense though, and the top defense, and New York manhandled them, and so that's where some of the stats don't necessarily add up there, and that's what the playoffs are beautiful. But at the same time, I just think that the Knicks have a way of just being able to bother Jimmy Butler in a better way than the Bucks were. Drew Holiday did his best, and I'm not saying that the Knicks players defensively are as good as Drew Holiday. They're not, but you have more of those guys. Like it was literally just Drew Holiday that could guard Jimmy, and Jimmy was already in such a rhythm and was getting his, and it's already a very talented scorer. Where the Knicks, I could see a lot of Josh Hart, and I like that Josh Hart matchup. I could see some Quentin Grimes on him. I like that too. RJ Barrett, you could throw different bodies at him of
I was
similar
actually
size.
I was going to ask who's your primary Jimmy defender? Is it Hart? Is it Barrett? Is it Grimes? Is it Randall?
It's
Who
funny. I think
who
yeah,
is
it's
it?
gonna be. it's gonna be hard for me. Randall, especially with his wheels being a little squeaky right now, I don't want him on Jimmy. Jimmy is very adept at his fakes and step throughs and different things to not only get you up off your feet and then get the and one foul. And Randall already as a big, I wouldn't necessarily like that matchup because Jimmy is more fleeter of foot. Even if you could say, okay, stay back and let Jimmy shoot the jumper, of which he did and actually knocked down a decent clip, against Milwaukee, but so did the rest of the Heat. But at the same time, I just don't want to have an island situation where Randall has to
Yeah,
recover or anything like that. So I would put Josh Hart. Think he gets after it. Think he's going to be tenacious. I think strength wise, he's a very stout defender. I like it. Then I would probably throw Quentin Grimes as well, another guy who can get after him. I'd throw RJ Barrett there as too. I hopefully want to save RJ Barrett to bring some more offense because the Knicks are going to need every bit of that, I think.
yeah,
But that's what I like to do and just have the same type of rotating bodies. And for the rest of it, you just hope the Heat kind of. I mean, you don't hope the Heat go to it, but I think that they will just kind of regress to the mean in terms of their scoring. And I don't know. I think that as far as Bam Adebayo, like he kind of up and down in my mind. He averaged 18 points and 8 rebounds against the Heat during the regular season, but I think he struggled against the Bucks, and I get it,
yeah.
bigger front line. But also one of the games they struggled against, they didn't have Mitchell Robinson, and Mitchell Robinson, didn't light the world on fire against the Cavs, but like, or
He,
you know,
he
light
can
the world on
defend.
fire against the Heat rather, but against the Cavs, very dominant. You know what I
He can
mean? I mean,
defend. He can.
exactly.
Yeah, and what do you think? What do you think happens first in this series? A team hits 120 points for a game, or a team hits below 80 in a
That's a
game?
good question.
What
I'm
happens
gonna say,
first?
I'm gonna say below 80. I could see a
I
game where
could see,
halftime is 36-38.
yeah, I could see a final score where it's like Knicks win 88-76 or something like that. Like I could see that
Yes.
game in this series,
In
but it
fact,
would
I need to see
be
it now.
yeah. Now I'm begging for it, but it would be funny to me if there was a like I don't know if I could see a game between these two teams where it's like Knicks 124, Heat 121. I'm like
Hmm.
that doesn't track for either of these
Doesn't
rosters.
add for either. Yeah, exactly. Both teams' offense exposure like that. Like, no, it's like somebody turned the sliders all the way up in an
Yeah,
unrealistic way. Because that's not even how those teams win their games when they do win regularly.
yeah. And I mean, so on Miami, Bam Adebayo, I like Bam Adebayo as a player. Obviously, he was a bit of a roller coaster in that
Hmm.
first round series against the
Hmm.
Bucks. Him and Mitchell Robinson is a fascinating matchup.
Yes, it is.
I really like. I can't wait to watch, and I love a good I love a good center matchup. I always think it's fascinating. But like the way I look at these matchups, like if I'm just looking starting lineup on starting lineup, um, Robinson on Adebayo is so interesting. You throw Randall on Kevin Love just to preserve him, do whatever, and then I I'm looking here like I think Barrett probably got a start on Butler at some point, right?
At some point, it's gonna have to happen. Yeah,
And then if we're putting Hart in the Hart is a regular starter for them at this point, right? Trying to remember if
I would.
he's
Yeah, I feel like he is.
yeah, I
I
feel
feel
like
like he is.
he is
Yeah.
just the starter. So you probably have him. You have him and RJ Barrett switching off between Jimmy Butler and Max Struess, and then you have Jalen Brunson and Gabe Vincent, which is the way Gabe Vincent played in that series is kind of interesting all of a sudden. Although I
Hmm.
think Jalen Brunson has the advantage.
Me too.
Yeah, I think the Knicks are the better team, but this will still be a pretty fun throwback series.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. So let's kind of nail predictions here. I have Knicks in 6.
I'm Knicks in 5.
Knicks in 5. I like it. I like it. Okay, it's gonna be interesting. I'm looking forward to that for sure. I'm not usually looking forward to grinded out, not very fun offensive unit like matchup. So this will be fun to witness for sure. But let's go to our next matchup here. We're gonna do the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Boston Celtics, the 3-2 matchup. Another injury that's going to be important in this. Joel Embiid may not be ready to play due to his sprained knee. And so that's going to be something that will stand out. But looking at Boston, you know, not really having a ton of problems battling the Hawks, as none of us thought that they would. Look at Philadelphia, had no problems like dispatching Brooklyn, which we also kind of figured would be the case. So now you have the 76ers and the Celtics. You have a guy in Joel Embiid trying to get out of the second round. He faces a uphill battle for sure against the Boston Celtics team that is still rolling. And also, you still have James Harden dealing with Achilles injury, where every other game he looks very immortal. Joel Embiid now hampered. But also, I mean, Joel Embiid against the Celtics this year has been different than years past. He's been eating. He had a 50 something point. He had a 50-plus performance. He had a 42-point performance. Like, he's been getting his way, and I think a lot of it is instead of operating in the post like he used to, he's operating from that elbow area. Able to see double teams, able to hit his mid-range J, power pass defenders, quickness, like that sort of thing. And it's been helpful for him. So I ask you, what are your thoughts looking at the Celtics and 76ers?
I mean, this is a different 76ers team than years past. I want to like put that out there first. I don't think this is the same 76ers that they've been the last few years with Joel Embiid. I think they're better. I also think the Celtics are better. Like they are, I think they're the best remaining team in the NBA. Maybe them or the Nuggets. We'll get to that, but like I think this is potentially the best remaining team in the league now that the Bucks are gone. And I see this as a Celtics series win. I'm trying to decide if it's in 6 or 7. I think I'm gonna go 7. Um, but get back to me on that, just because um, I think the Celtics are just the better basketball team, and I think the 76ers have too many question marks in terms of their health, in terms of their fatigue. And I know it's kind of like lazy to use the Joel Embiid gets tired in the second round narrative, but it's happened pretty much every year up to this point. James Harden is also the type of guy that kind of has, you know, seen a fatigue. He's dealing with injury. I feel like the 76ers are dealing with a little too much injury wise and fatigue wise at the top end of their roster, whereas I don't see the Celtics having that same problem. So I have the Celtics winning this series. I think they're the better team. I think they're the more healthy team right now. I think they're the more energetic team right now. And yeah, that's how I have it going.
I like it. I think it's very interesting that you're going that way. I have it's hard for me. I have this I have the Celtics. But I have them in 5. I know,
Ooh, and
and
it's not
here's the thing.
close.
I just think injuries are going to play a factor. I think the 76 team is a better team. I most certainly do. Um, I just think, unfortunately, that the Celtics not only are healthier, but like they have a lot of different weapons, and the 76ers can, for the most part, counteract that. But you also have to bring the matching offense as well. And for me, it's just like I don't know. I'm still thinking this through, so I get back at me. I might say Celtics in 6, which I probably will end up going with, like officially, because I want to give disrespect to Philly, and it's not disrespect to Philly. But
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. It's just like you have, Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, and those are already problems with the sub. Now, mind you, I'm saying that because of the depth that they have. They're not because they're the standout guys. Obviously, is Jason Tatum, Jalen Brunson, and the matchups for both those guys are interesting because where are you hiding Harden in a 5 matchup there? Especially being hampered. If you're going to leave Embiid as a roller? Are you putting PJ Tucker on um, one of Jason or Jalen? Are you bringing in McDaniels? Obviously, he stands to play more minutes. What about a guy like Daniel House, who can bring that length defensively, but also hopefully some shooting? I just think the matchups for Philly on Boston are going to be interesting, and that's what I'm looking at on the long term is just how that's going to work. And because again, a lot of their strength is from the wings, but you also can't leave, Al Horford open, right? Like regularly. He's somebody that can make you pay. You gotta have Joel Embiid as like a roamer to have some help on the defensive end, but at the same time, he's injured. How does that affect his mobility? How does that affect his aggression on the offensive end? There's just a lot there that I am more concerned about in terms of how the 76ers match. And so if you have a ailing Embiid and ailing Harden, can Maxi just go off? He's had some struggles against Boston, you know? Like, is that something he's going to be able to do? Potentially. Is that going to be enough? I don't know. I really think it gets back to the health. But I'm looking forward to Tyrese Maxey versus Derek White for sure. I'm looking forward to PJ Tucker on Jason Tatum. I think that'll be fun. PJ Tucker on Mikal Bridges was fun. I think that we're seeing PJ Tucker's value even more here, and that's important. And then last but not least, of course, Joel Embiid and Al Horford. Like those are the matchups that I think are going to help kind of decide this series. But a lot of it comes down to health for all of those guys and the minutes they're able to play. PJ Tucker's not a young man. And Jason Tatum very much is.
Yeah.
So, and they're both going to play 40-something minutes a night. Like there will be some mileage being run in this matchup. So that's where I'm at right now. It could change. I don't have the 76ers winning just because Embiid's injured, and I just feel like he's not going to come 100%. And when he's usually injured in these kind of games, especially against a team like Boston, it doesn't bode well. So that's my initial thoughts, but we'll see what's up.
Yeah, I think the Celtics have three really high quality defensive guards to throw at Harden Maxey, and I don't know outside of PJ Tucker, what do the Sixers have to throw at both Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown, right? Like you got to deal with them both. They're both wing scorers, and the Sixers to me lack sort of that like wing defensive depth. But the Celtics, where the Sixers are good outside of Embiid, is their backcourt with Harden and Maxey, and the Celtics have depth on depth there. They have three guys that I really really trust. I mean, I was thinking about it the other day, like the best perimeter defenders in the league, like purely perimeter defenders, not talking versatility like an Anthony Davis or a Jaren Jackson Jr. Just purely on the perimeter. I would say the Celtics have three of like the 10 or 15 best perimeter defenders in the league. And so I feel like Harden and Maxey are really going to have to work, and Harden is already coming in a little bit hobbled. So while I generally like the Sixers better than I've liked the Sixers in years past, and I'm giving them credit by saying it's a 6 or 7 game series, I don't see them beating the Celtics here. I really just think the Celtics have a little bit too much defensively that the Sixers don't have on their end.
Yeah, I can agree with that 100%. I think that's very much the case, and it comes down to that sometimes the matchups and also the weapons you have at your disposal to both, score and defend. And Boston has more. There's a reason they were where they were. Philadelphia is nice. It's just the wrong time, I think, for injuries. But hopefully, they've had over a week to rest. Or just I feel like it's been over a week, right?
Yeah, Philly, yeah,
Yeah,
they haven't played in a minute.
exactly. So, and then that's another thing. Are they going to come out well rested, ready to go? Or are they going to come out a little rusty? Who's going to punch first? James Harden's had struggles from two. He's had some nice fire games from three, but he struggled his finishing, like specifically in Boston too. Like that'll be an issue as well. So yeah, at the end of the day, I'm looking at Boston as taking the edge here. I say five just because I think they're too much, and Philly's not 100%. If they do get a really strong game out of Embiid coming out the gate, I'm going to change. We'll have to change it before the series starts to be like official in my prediction.
Yeah,
So I might go Philly in 6 out of respect to Philly. But let's say this: if Boston was in 5, I would not be surprised.
yeah, I think I got Boston in 7. Yeah, they Philly had 9 days off.
Wow.
Their last game was Saturday, April 22nd, and game one is Monday, May 1st.
Wow. That is
That's
wild.
ridiculous. That's
That is
ridiculous.
that is crazy. Yep. Well, let's go to our last matchup here in this second round, and that is the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets. And this is going to be an interesting one. I wonder for Denver. They 2021. They got problems with Phoenix. Phoenix is a different team. Their bench is weaker, but they also have Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's average is over 29 points a game against the Nuggets in the 2 meetings they had this season. Both wins that the Suns earned. Although, to be honest, like you could argue the Nuggets really weren't going at 100%. I know Nikola Jokic missed one of those games by design. So that we'll see kind of how that works out. But if I'm the Nuggets, like I'm curious, like, okay, are they going to break through this time? Like, is Nikola Jokic going to dominate? Jamal Murray, you're back, you're healthy. Like, are you ready to do what you got to do? Michael Porter Jr., can he just go crazy for a game or two? You know what I mean? Like we need it to happen on the bench. I need other guys to step up as well. You want your guys like KCP and Aaron Gordon to be able to hit shots. You have a tight bench, but you want your bench to be able to produce as well, especially since Phoenix's bench doesn't give you a whole lot in general. So anything you get from Denver will be a boon. On the other hand, Kevin Durant, man, dude's a monster. And he's probably not even the hottest guy. He's not coming into the series. That's Devin Booker, who's been just insane. So I don't know. I look at this one. This is going to be very, very tough. I like Denver's offensive system better than I like Phoenix's because I can actually see one with Denver, where Phoenix is very much kind of your turn, my turn. Who's loading up on who? Okay, we'll throw it to the next guy. And they're very mid-range shot heavy, and they have all the guys to do all of that. But like Torrey Craig was their big offensive breakout guy last round. That's just he averaged 12 points, by the way. He had offensive breakout guy because of the first like 2 games of the series. Went back to his usual norm, finished with like 12 points for the series, like per game, which is still 5 more than his playoff career average. It's like that's an outlier performance. And the rest of the bench has not been bringing it, right? I do wonder, okay, like we've seen, yes, Devin Booker go crazy, Kevin Durant be efficient, all of that. And the Clippers are a deep team even without Kawhi and Paul George. But come on. Like, very close games for most nearly all of it, despite having the superior talent. When you're playing your best players against already the Clippers extended bench. I just didn't see what did those wins didn't inspire the confidence of, okay, here we go. At the same time, the Nuggets historically in my mind have struggled against guys just like KD, just like Devin Booker. Those elite individual offensive talents that have something behind them. Now the question is, where does this Phoenix team lie? Because we saw elite offensive talents that had little to offer besides him, and that was like the Damian Lillard Blazers, right? Where Damian threw up all these massive points, but no one else really brought it, and the Nuggets were able to withstand it. Then we saw like the Kobe AD Lakers, the LeBron AD Lakers, excuse me, where LeBron AD, great individual talent, they had just enough help from other guys as well. So the Suns, I feel like, are kind of in between there. What does that mean? So I'm going tentatively Suns in 7.
One thing you said there that like the Suns didn't inspire confidence in the first round. I think that's absolutely true. I was not inspired by what I saw from the Suns in the first round. I was inspired by what I saw from the Nuggets in the first round. I thought they handled Minnesota like easily. It didn't even look like they really broke a sweat. And I think the Nuggets, it's completely opposite game plans. On one hand, with the Suns, you have these two unbelievable superstars that can score from anywhere, that can do anything with the ball in their hands, but there's not really much around them in terms of scoring the ball. There's not really much there defensively, like throughout the whole roster. There's Torrey Craig, who's pretty solid. DeAndre Ayton is obviously pretty good. Chris Paul can still, in spurts, give you great defense. Same with Kevin Durant. But they're not, as a whole, a great defensive team, especially because they've played, a grand total of 13 games together as a unit. So they don't have much in terms of defensive scheme. The Nuggets, on the other hand, they have arguably the most unselfish superstar in the game today in Nikola Jokic. And what I believe is probably the deepest team outside of maybe the Celtics remaining in the playoffs. They have legitimately 8 players that I trust, like on any given night, to give you good playoff minutes, which isn't really true of most of the other teams remaining. So I really love the Nuggets here. I have Nuggets in, I'll say 7, just because I do believe that eventually scoring, like KD and Booker will each have a game or two where they just absolutely go off, and that's enough to get over the hump. But I think the Nuggets are the better basketball team through and through, and I would love to go Nuggets in 5. But honestly, I just can't do that. I can't put myself out there like that. So I'm going to go Nuggets in 7.
Yeah, I
That's
feel
where
that.
I'm at. I think the Nuggets just have too much depth. I mean, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. is a great top 4. But then beyond that top 4, you have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. You have Bruce Brown. Like, you have really, really solid players that do things that Nuggets teams have not had. The Nuggets have not had a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope or a Bruce Brown in any of their playoff series up to this point. Even when they went to the conference finals in the bubble, they did not have defensive players like those two on the perimeter.
They had a
They did
Torrey
not.
Craig. I'm
And
kidding.
they did. And Torrey Craig is solid, but I think both
Hmm.
Bruce Brown and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope are better players.
Yeah, I agree.
If they swapped, if it was Torrey Craig in Denver and like Bruce Brown or KCP in Phoenix,
We'd be
I would
swinging
take
the other
Phoenix.
way.
I
Yep,
would I
yep.
would flip the other way because they have that. But like, I look at the Suns, and offensively, I trust 3 guys consistently. I don't even trust Chris Paul consistently at this point in his career. Offensively, he has struggled a lot throughout the season. He didn't look, expert level Chris Paul in the first round either. Like, he was fine. So they have 3 guys I trust offensively. Now, do I trust them to a superstar level? Absolutely. But I only trust 3 guys offensively, and defensively. If I like half of Chris Paul and half of Kevin Durant. If I combined it that way, I could maybe
Hmm.
get to 3 players I trust defensively too. In Denver, I trust like 7 or 8 dudes to
Wow.
be good players in this series, and I think the depth is going to win out here. And you know, it kind of bucks my usual rule of when in doubt, pick the team that has the best player in the
That's
series.
what I'm doing. Exactly.
And that's what you're doing, and that's totally reasonable because I do that 99% of the time. But in this case, I don't think the gap between Kevin Durant and Nikola Jokic is enough for me to go that way. So I'm going with the team that I think is just the better overall basketball team, which is Denver.
I can go with that. I can see that. I think it's gonna be very interesting. Also, not a whole big deal, but Chris Paul will turn 38 during this playoff series.
Well,
We
he
saw
looks
Chris
like it.
Paul. Yeah, we saw Chris Paul when he turned 37 against Dallas, and everything grinded to a halt. Will that happen here? He literally turns 38 next week. So, like
Yeah.
this next week to the literal day that we're recording this. So just throwing it out there. We'll see, but I think it's something to think about. He's not aging like LeBron. I'll leave it there.
No one ages like LeBron ages.
No one
LeBron,
does. I had to
I
say
was
it.
at I was at Game 4 for Lakers Grizzlies when
Mhm.
LeBron put up 22 and 20, had the game tying
Oh,
shot,
what a
sent it
game you were there for! Oh
for
my
overtime.
gosh, Ron.
It was it was incredible. It was electric, and I'm like all that to say, LeBron at 38 is different than Chris Paul at 38,
There we go.
and that's no disrespect to Chris Paul. Chris Paul is
No,
one of
greats.
the 5 greatest point guards to ever play the game of basketball, hands down. But he
Yeah,
is not that guy right now. And if he is that guy, I may review my Nuggets in 7 pick,
okay.
but I don't believe that he can consistently be that guy over a 7-game series at this stage in his career. And so because of that, I have to go Nuggets.
That's fair. I'm totally with you on it as well. So this was interesting. This was a fun kind of quick recap of some of the first round and definitely a preview of the second round. I like some of our picks. I know we'll have this posted up first thing tomorrow. While you listen this first day of round 2, you'll have this in your feed ready to listen to and kind of
Nuggets
get the
game 1
predictions.
is before this will come out, right?
Yes.
Tonight.
Oh, geez, that's tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about that. You're gonna hear our take on it. I'm glad we ended with this last because then you're gonna see if we look like savants or just guys throwing a stab at it. And either way, it's a lot of fun.
That's
So
funny.
exactly, but I forgot game one. I gotta be busy. Oh, great, that's gonna be exciting. Okay, but listen, that will do it here for us on Roundball Ramble. Ron, we gotta do this again for conference finals.
Absolutely. We'll
Gotta
we'll
make
be
it
back.
happen.
We'll be back for the conference finals when in my mind it's Lakers Nuggets and Celtics Knicks would be
Lakers
that'd be the conference
Nuggets.
finals if it went my way.
Okay, Lakers, Nuggets, Celtics, Knicks. I have Lakers, Suns, Celtics, Knicks. So that'll be interesting. Either way, it's gonna be fun to break
It's gonna
down
be fun.
and go into it. Absolutely, man. Ron, as always, thank you so much for hopping on. Definitely appreciate you, man.
Yep,
Um,
always.
Always, man. You can follow Ron on Twitter. Please do at Ron Gutterman 24. Definitely make sure to check him out there. RonGutterman. The guy knows his NBA. He knows his Lakers. He knows his baseball. So if you're into that, check it out as well. For me, I'm gonna stay with just basketball. It's hard enough for me to get on that as is. Follow me on Twitter at Corban NBA. Definitely appreciate that there. Check out this show, obviously, Roundball Ramble, and also check out my other podcast, Roster Reconstruction, which I have to have Ron on for anyway. Ron, I don't know if I've talked about that, but it's like a front office show
Oh yeah, we'll have
without
to do that.
being
We'll have to do that for the off season for sure.
okay for sure. Yeah, it's just a general one. I love the NBA front office show. It's not even that boat. It's more like a draft, trade, free agency type discussion. The show
Yeah.
on both like current topics and also obviously looking at the draft class and free agency. It's gonna be fun. I'm very excited about where they can go. I'm currently doing a front office a ranking. So we are going to have that drop this weekend. Both my friend Josh Earl and Garrett Bouguet. We've been ranking the NBA front offices. So we have our bottom 10 already posted. I'm going to post our middle tier now, and then we're going to do our top 10 next week. So it's been a fun little project, a way to look at it, how we evaluate the front offices over the last like 3 years, each team, and whether we like their trades and free agency and whether, their front office and how much that goes into the ownership and everything. And for example, like we have the Clippers all over the boat because for me, it's like the Clippers, yes, their ownership is great, willing to spend. Yes, their coaching is very solid. Yes, they have a deep team, but your goal is to win a championship. You haven't done that yet. Like, in my mind, that knocks you some because you've had the team to do that. It's just interesting philosophical
Yeah,
conversations
yeah,
around the front office. So definitely got to get you on there, man.
for sure.
Yes, hope that was easy enough for the rest of y'all to check that out. It's called Roster Reconstruction. I have a thing with the letter R in my podcast. So definitely make sure to tune into that. Really appreciate y'all. But this is going to be a wrap for this show. For Ron, for myself, we are Frosty. Y'all stay frosty and talk to y'all. Real.